right, welcome everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. The following seminar is brought to you by nonprofit organization iExplore. I am honored to be introducing our seminar presenter today, Ryan Kern, who is the president of iExplore and is an experienced presenter. I think many of you have probably been to his other awesome biology-related seminars, and today he will be telling us all about having a balanced diet and being healthy. So Ryan, take it away.
Thank you very much, Kathy. Excuse me. So today, my name is Ryan Kern, like she mentioned, and let me grab my pointer really quick here. I'm going into 10th grade at Troy High School, and I really love playing water polo and the piano, and I really like biology, and I'm really interested in studying in it and eventually becoming a doctor. So today we're going to be talking about eating healthy, which is a guide to staying fit and smart. And I really kind of believe you are what you eat. And as we go through the seminar, I hope to show to everyone why that's actually true and what eating healthy food, how that can benefit your body. So we're going to first start off with kind of an intro question here. So what does being healthy mean? Because I know a lot of people have thrown around the term a lot, and I want to see your guys' opinions and see what you guys think. So we're going to give everyone, make sure you guys vote for sure. And we'll give everyone probably a couple more seconds to vote. Okay, I think we can close the polls right now. Yeah, so wow, 100%. Great job, everyone. Yeah, so let me close the polls here. And yep, the correct answer is D, none of the above. Here we look at the dictionary word for what healthy means, but we find it doesn't really mean, it doesn't help us that much. It just says in good health, which is not very specific, and it doesn't really help us understand what being healthy really is. And really, to me, and a lot of people agree with this, is being healthy is having that combination, because it's not you'll see through more questions in this seminar, but it's not really just having all of one area. So we look at this is a suggested meal plate thing where it has grains, fruit, vegetables, protein, and dairy. And you see that they all are about equal amounts, and none is the whole plate is not just fruit, or the whole plate is not just vegetables, or the whole plate is not just protein. You need this kind of balance to really have the best diet and then be the most healthy as well. Because if you just have one, you're going to be missing off of a lot of those essential nutrients that come from the other food groups. So here's one example of a real life kind of food plate. Here we have the salmon, which would be the protein. We have the fruit, the vegetables, grain, and pudding. And here I have my own plate. This was actually my lunch one day this week. And here I have my fruit and my meat, and then the vegetables and the rice, and I also have the cup of milk. So I just wanted to show you this, guys, because at the very end, we're going to have a little fun activity for you guys to do, and where you guys take a picture of your kind of own food and your food plate as well. Now we're going to go into the different food groups and what people think should be the best way for us, how much we should eat of each one. So we look at this one. This one is actually from the Department of Nutrition, Harvard School of Public Health. And actually at the very bottom here, we see that the way the pyramid works is, since at the bottom there's more, they want you to do more at the bottom or eat more of what is at the bottom. And as you go up, you go a little bit less and less. So if we look at the very top, we see that there's sugars, there's the red meat, there's the bread and the soda. So that's supposed to be the stuff you eat the least of. However, you look at the very bottom, it has daily exercise and weight control. That's what the stuff they want you to do the most of. And so then we can kind of use that to find out oh, how much should I be eating of these different kinds of food. Here are the vegetables and fruits, pretty important. We also have the grains, and these are the oils. So there's a difference really between this healthy fat oil versus having butter. the healthy fat oil is really going to be better for you as it's more natural. These are things like the vegetable oil, so olive oil, or just a lot of the natural oils that are going to be like liquids. So like when you use vegetable oil for cooking, it's not like butter where you have to melt it. Next up, they have nuts, seeds, bean, and tofu. These are all like protein as well, and then also the fish and eggs. And they also have dairy too. And the very last one also just has the like red meat. So this shows that really we should be eating a lot of vegetables, a lot of the whole grains, and some protein. It doesn't all have to be meat. It can be like the nuts and seeds, a little bit less on the dairy, and really just not a lot on this sugar and the really like salty stuff. However, we look at like many different kinds of food pyramids here. We see that they actually put like the bread and pasta, which is the grains, at the bottom. Then they put the fruits and vegetables. Then they put the meat all in one category. And they actually put the oil and sugar and sweets in the top one. And we'll look at one more here too, is the grains all at the bottom, then like vegetables and fruit, meat, and then the kind of fats and dairy. So as we see, there's a lot of like variation. People are not all like, this is the one pyramid that you must have. They really have like different ideas on it, because there's really just not one set one, because a lot of being healthy is really, it's really about you and how you are healthy individually, because the way you are healthy and the stuff you eat and like is not going to be the same from person to person. It's going to be different, which is why they can't just say, here's one food pyramid, everyone follow it, like this will guarantee you to be healthy. They can suggest stuff that is most likely, but it's not always like concrete and absolute. Okay, our next question is like, this is what I was talking about with the balance, right? So am I healthy if I eat 1,000 pieces of broccoli a day? I really hope you guys don't try this, but yeah. Okay, we'll give people a couple more seconds to vote. We actually have a lot of interesting content today, so I want to make sure I get to everything because I think you guys will really enjoy it. Okay, now I think we can close the polls. Yeah, so a lot of people picked no, which is correct, because like I said, balance is important. Even though broccoli is, people like, eat your broccoli, it's a vegetable, it's healthy. Yes, you should eat broccoli, but you have to eat it in moderation, which just means like balance. You can't have too much of it and then not enough of anything else. And you can't do the other way. You can't have too much of something else and not enough like broccoli or vegetables. So once again, that's just an example of balance. Here we're gonna see what the American Heart Association, what they recommend to have like a really healthy life. So they're saying that the foods you eat should be mainly fruit and vegetable. And they're really pointing out that the more like colorful it is, so the dark green or the bright yellow, like orange or stuff like that, those are going to have the most nutrients. And we see that a lot of the vegetables and like vegetables and fruits, they're going to have a lot of these vitamins and nutrients for us as well. So let's take avocados, for example. Avocados are very high in like potassium, and they have that like healthy oil because they're a little bit like creamy. And so that's actually really helpful for you. And yeah, so that's just one example of how vegetables, and then there's also fruits, can really have important vitamins for us. And that's why it's so critical that we actually eat them. Next, they talk about the whole grains. So there's a big difference between having like the white bread, which has like a lot of sugar, it's pre-processed, so it's not that good for you, versus having what people are saying whole grain, right? Because they're saying like, oh, this is whole grain. Like, well, what does that actually mean? That just means that it's gonna be very high like percentage of like the wheat, so it's gonna be like darker because of that. So instead of white bread, it would be like the brown bread, you know, that's going to be the whole wheat bread. And that bread's going to be healthier because it has more of the actual like oats and grains versus having more sugar, which the white bread has. And it has like more processed and is not good. So yeah, we go on to the next one here. It talks about fish, and they say that fish is like pretty important because it has some of the oils which will actually help your heart too. And yeah, And again, like this is just really showing that there's really important to have balance, because by having balance in your meal and having different parts of different food groups, you're going to be able to have the most like variety, right? But also the most variety of like the nutrients, right? Because we say avocados, they have like the potassium and they have oils, but they're not going to have like every single vitamin in that one avocado. That's why you might need to eat a banana. You might need to have some spinach. So by having a combination, you're going to really be the most healthy by doing this. And they also talk about kind of like balancing your weight by making sure you have enough activity, which I'll definitely talk about more in this lecture. So the next question that we're going to get into is, why is it important to exercise? This is another thing, like being healthy. Everyone is like, oh, like be healthy, you know, like, oh, make sure you guys exercise. Could we release the poll?
I don't think we have a poll for that one. I'm checking right now.
Oh, okay then.
Okay.
Yeah, okay then. That's fine. So I'll just save you guys some time here. The correct answer was that it's actually D. So it is good for your lungs. It can help you lose weight, and it can also prevent many diseases. So these are all true about having like regular exercise. And okay, I think for this one, we have a poll for sure. This one is another example of like having the, how important the balance really is in your meal. Because again, if I only eat bacon, am I gonna be healthy? So make sure you guys vote. Okay, we'll give everyone like 2 more seconds. Okay, we can close the polling now. Yeah, so once again, you guys so smart, always picking the right answers. Yeah, it really is unhealthy if you only eat bacon, because you can already see here there's so much oil, and that oil is definitely not the healthy oil. And so that is just not going to be good for you. Here we have the next one is, if I only eat vegetables, am I healthy? We're going to spend a little less time on this poll because, like I said, there's a good amount of content. I really want to get through it. And I have some like kind of bonus stuff at the end too. Cool. Yep. Everyone said no, because like we said, you can't just only eat vegetables. You got to have that variety. You might eat a variety of vegetables, but you have to have some like whole grains. You have to have some like meat as well. And that's really important to have a good balanced diet. Okay, we're actually not going to stop for questions, and we'll just do it at the end, because like I said, there's a lot of really cool stuff that I have planned for you guys, and I really want to make sure we get through it all. Again, once again, like here is the balance, having the 2 food groups being in like equal part, right? And that's just, again, like I was saying, so important, because you can't have it be like unbalanced, and that's not going to result in having a healthy body. Here are some like vegetables, and I would like to ask people what their favorite veggie is. You guys can you guys can put it in the chat. I'm just wondering. And then Kathy, I think you can read it off too.
All right, so we don't have any yet, but make sure to put it in the chat below. You can just send them to me. All right, so we got tomatoes, potatoes. So tomatoes from Zachary and potatoes from Angelina, and corn from Richard. Tomatoes again from Sarah. Eggplant from Elle. Tomato from Alex. Really popular tomato here.
Yeah, tomato is very popular.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, those are all great. Personally, I really like spinach. So yeah, but here we just see all the variety, and yeah. Okay, we're gonna start getting into the exercise part here. And so really, like, how much exercise do you need a day? This is another one of those things, like people always telling you you have to exercise to be healthy. But the real question is like, how much? How much do you end up doing? You guys gonna exercise for 20 hours a day or 20 minutes? At least an hour or maybe like 20 seconds. We'll see. Okay, make sure you guys, thank you. And at least an hour, correct. So we go back to remember the American Heart Association, and they're recommending that kids 6 to 17 get at least 60 minutes or 1 hour of like physical activity. I just want to bump in here. There's a fun fact that I heard a lot of people like tomatoes. Well, back in the old days, they used to make plates out of lead, which was like a kind of like dangerous and toxic like metal. But what happened is they would put the tomatoes onto the lead plate, and the tomatoes would absorb some of the poisons. So that when people ate it, they thought the tomatoes were poisonous. But now, obviously, we know that tomatoes are actually fine and they're not poisonous at all. Now I'm going to go into some of my personal advice, like as a water polo player and really trying to like balance school with like doing like the things I love in piano and just, you know, making sure I get enough exercise and eat healthy. So I think I have a lot of like valuable insight that I want to share with you guys. Once again, starting off with exercise. Exercise is very important because not only are you going to like help control your weight, but it's also important just to have like that overall, just like you have some muscle, because it'll help with just anything. Let's say like you need to help your family move. Well, if you have a little bit of muscle, it's gonna be easier to carry those boxes, move it somewhere, versus if you don't work out and maybe you're like still skinny, but you just don't have that much strength. And that is just not very practical if you don't have that much strength. So that's why I recommend people kind of like exercise or do some push-ups like a little bit every day. And another part of that is really doing something that you love, right? So I like doing water polo. So for me, going into the pool, practicing water polo, that's not really seen as a workout. That's just something I like to do. And on the plus side, the benefit is that like, oh, I'm still moving, I'm still getting my physical activity in. But for a lot of people, it's like basketball or soccer, or they're like running. But whatever it is, make sure you do something that you love, because if you don't do something you love, then it's going to become like, oh, I have to go play basketball or I have to go for a run. And then you're not going to want to do it. But if you do something like for me, if I love swimming, right? Then every time I get in, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to go to the pool. I can't wait to swim. And in the long term, like over many, many years, you're going to be able to continue to exercise on a normal basis without it being like, for example, let's say I don't want to play basketball at all because I don't like it, but then I have to do it to work out. Since I don't like it, I'm not going to want to do it in the future anymore, because if I have a choice, I'm not going to want to play basketball. And what's going to end up happening, I'm not going to work out because I'm like, well, basketball is my working out. Versus I love swimming, I just go swim and then that's my workout, but I don't see it as a workout. I see it just me having fun. Now I want to ask people what their favorite sport is. And I really think it doesn't have to be a sport that you use to like get your exercise, but really for me, that's like the most convenient way. And also I, I really enjoy, excuse me, I really enjoy the team aspect too, like working with other people. And for me, that's like a really important part of sports too.
All right, so we got quite a few answers. Lewis said he likes table tennis. Zachary said he likes tennis. Sarah said she likes basketball. And then Kate likes tennis and softball. Zachary also likes volleyball. Elle likes gymnastics. Richard likes tennis. And Kevin likes running. So I'm not going to read all of them. Oh, Dan likes water polo.
Cool.
Yeah,
So,
I'm not going to read all of them. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. I see we have a very big like variety here of a lot of different sports. So that's very cool. Now, the second part is really eating your vegetables, because I know sometimes it's hard. They don't taste that good, but we said that there's so many nutrients and it's so important to really do that, because you're filling your body with better food, and it's going to allow you to be better and stronger and just do everything you need to do, like do everything you need to do really during the day, so you don't feel tired. You don't feel like, oh, I'm so tired, I have to take a nap, you know, like even though you've got enough sleep last night. For example, let's say we have a really nice like sports car, and then this sports car is going to be you, right? And we fill it up with some really bad gas, like it's it's very like grainy and it's not good for the engine. How do you think the car is going to do during the day? The car is not going to be able to go at its peak performance. It's not going to go super fast. It's probably going to have to slow down because it's like fuel is really bad. However, if we give it really the like quality like gas, and it's going to be able to go like really, really fast and then be able to do what it needs to do. We're just like that. You give us like some of the really like bad junk food and then we just eat that all the time. We're not going to feel good. We're not going to be able to like have fun during the day. We're not going to enjoy like really our lives a lot of the time. Versus we eat a bunch of veggies, we feel like we have more energy and we just feel so much healthier and better, and our really perception on life can change too. And I've really experienced this myself because after like eating more veggies, you always feel like you have more energy. You feel just better. You feel like elevated. You feel like you can do whatever you need to do. For me, I really like having a salad too, because I know it can be kind of hard because we said like, oh, eat your veggies, but like, how am I gonna actually eat that? I have to go to school. I have to do homework. I have to go like water polo. I have to do all these activities. Well, if you just have a salad or have like someone make you a salad, then you can just eat it and then that'll be like one meal. And the very interesting thing is because the salads are like very the like let's like look here, the lettuce, right? The lettuce is very leafy and it's has like kind of air, so it's kind of like puffy, right? When you actually eat it, even though it doesn't look like that much and it's like it's not like very heavy or dense, you actually feel very full because it's going to take up space in your stomach. And what will happen is you will stop eating. And that's really why I think that it's also a good way if you're having trouble like controlling the weight too. By eating salads, you're going to feel full faster, and then you're going to eat like less calories too. Okay, the next thing here is drinking water. So I had these cool little animations here of just people like drinking a lot of water. But really, you don't need to drink this much, but I just thought it'd be really funny. Yeah. So here we see that for kids, that there's different really like approximate rules on how much the kids should drink a day. So for 5 to 8 year olds, it's recommended they have like 5 glasses of water a day. 9 to 12 have 7, and then 13 plus have like 10. But once again, these are all approximate because if you're working out, you're doing a lot of exercising, or you're just playing a sport, then you're going to need more water. And maybe let's say you're not doing too much that day, then you might only need like 5 glasses of water if you're like 6 years old. But like as a rule of thumb, I really feel like that drinking water is really beneficial because it'll make you also you won't feel like dehydrated, because if you feel thirsty, it's gonna be hard to really focus on what you need to do. And that's why like drinking water is very important too. Also eating fruit. I hope this will be easier for you guys since like the fruit is sweet, it tastes good, like bananas and like pears. So just make sure you guys eat your fruits though too, because like I already said, they have a lot of nutrients as well. You may be like, okay, I'll eat my fruits, I'll eat my veggies, but how much do I need, right? So here's the recommendations here. You can kind of take a look on your own, but we have like, for example, like girls 9 to 13 have like 1.5 cups of fruit and around 2 cups of vegetables. And this is also just like 1.5 cups and 2.5 cups. So these are really to serve as like approximate. So this is not like you must eat only 2 cups of vegetables every day. It's not like that. Because I feel like many people really see that and they're like, okay, well, if I only eat 2 cups, I'll be fine. But really, not everyone's going to be the same. Some people are going to maybe require more than 2 cups, maybe some people less. But for those people that don't really have an even idea, like they're like, well, how many vegetables should I eat? How much should I eat? Well, this is really to help them at least have an understanding, be like, okay, I need to eat around this much vegetables and this much fruit. Okay, I got it now. I understand now what I need to do to stay healthy. Next thing is wearing sunscreen. I know like a lot of people, at least like in water polo, sometimes they don't put on sunscreen. But as we're going to look here, it's actually very, very important you put on sunscreen because the sun's like rays are very, very powerful. And then we don't want to get sunburned and don't want to hurt ourselves. So, Okay, this is a very interesting question that I'm not sure a lot of people really know the answer to, but do you know, do you need to put on sunscreen if it's cloudy? Yeah, this is one of the big topics around sunscreen. Okay, make sure you guys vote. Okay, we're gonna close the polls. Yeah, so it's pretty split, and some people are unsure, right? But the correct answer is actually yes, you should. But you guys may be like, why? It's not super sunny outside. I don't feel like it's hot. I don't feel like the sun like rays hurt like hitting me like directly. So why do I need to put on sunscreen? Well, we actually look at that. This is the myth, the idea that you don't need it when it's cloudy because it can't burn you. But there's two different types of like the rays that come from the sun. And there's going to be like the UVB rays and the UVA. All you need to know is that the UVB is like what you get sunburned by, but the other rays, these ones can still go through the clouds and they will cause what is called skin aging, which is where like it can lead to like skin cancer. So you may not see it or notice it immediately, but over time of you just not putting on sunscreen and going outside when it's overcast and just do like walking around doing a lot of like stuff and then not putting on any sunscreen or even like covering yourself, you will slowly begin to like see the difference as like your skin will start to change just due to these rays. They'll actually like they're harmful for our skin. So I've been talking a lot about the sunscreen, and I'm pretty sure most of you will be like, well, okay, but which sunscreen do I buy at the store? There's a lot of sunscreens that all say, oh yeah, we'll protect you against the sun. So here's some basic guidelines. We want it to be broad spectrum. That just means it blocks UVA, UVB. Okay, that's it. Then the SPF, it just stands for like sun protection formula, but we just need 30. 30 is good. If you go above that, that's even better. But baseline, like bottom line, we should have at least 30. Because anything below that, it's not really going to help protect us from the sun, which is why like a lot you'll see are at least 30 or above. Also, we want like water resistant, right? Let's say I'm swimming. I put on sunscreen. Oh, I put on sunscreen and then I go into the pool and then it all comes off of me. Then what's the point, right? So we need to be water resistant, which means it'll stay on our skin even if it's like wet. So if we go to the pool and we get in, the sunscreen will stay on. If we're playing basketball and we sweat, the sunscreen will still stay on. That's really what we need. And here are other like two different types of sunscreen. So we have like physical sunscreen, which is you can kind of think of almost like an umbrella. If you hold up an umbrella, the sun can't like hit you really. But we also have chemical sunscreen, which is just the sunscreen you put on your body. But there's also physical sunscreen that is like the same sunscreen you put on your body. It's a little bit different though. It has this kind of mineral called zinc, and you put it on and it forms almost like a second layer on your skin. So that way when the sun rays try to go through, they won't actually reach your skin. So I thought that was very interesting too. Yeah, I think for now we can take like one question. And then once again, if you guys have questions, feel free, make sure you guys like write it down. And at the end, we'll make sure to answer all of them.
All right, so our first question is, should milk be consumed in moderation? If so, why?
That's a very good question. So yes, again, we were talking about how it should be like balanced and it should be consumed like in moderation, right? But also we have to kind of think like, where does the milk come from and like what was its purpose, right? So the milk comes from like a cow, and it was really made for the baby cow to help grow and then help get it stronger. So we need to kind of keep that in mind that it wasn't like originally meant for us, but we can still drink it. But that's why I don't really recommend drinking a huge amount of milk every day. You just need like a small glass that will give you some of like calcium for your bones. But also if for some reason, like let's say you're lactose intolerant, which means you can't drink milk, you can't have cheese, you can't have like yogurt, then those people will have either like the supplements that will give them the like calcium, or they'll just make sure to eat like maybe more of the specific vegetables or fruits that will give them those nutrients too. That was a really, really great question too. Okay, we're gonna move on here to sleep. So I know like you go to school and it's like super tiring, but you still have to do homework. So you're like, you know what, it's okay. I'll just sleep a little bit less tonight. It's very interesting because, as I'm going to talk about a little bit too, they actually did a study on people who sleep before a test and versus people who stay up to study and then go to bed. But sleep is very important for us because if I go out all day, been like working hard, doing like homework and then doing like water polo, stuff like that, then my mind is gonna be kind of tired, my body is gonna be kind of tired, and I need time to rest. If you don't give me time to rest, the next day it's gonna be even harder because I'm gonna wake up, I'm like, I don't want to wake up, like I want to go back to bed. And so that's really why it's so important. And I feel like for a lot of people, they don't really understand that, which is why we're going to go into it. Here we have some little like diagrams here that show why it's so important to sleep. Again, it's important to recover from the night after you exercise. Because let's say we exercise, we're like, oh, we want to get very strong, but we need some time for our body to rest and heal so they'll be ready for the next time we exercise. Also, it's really good for our immune system because again, you can think sleep of like kind of a body's way of catching up, because if we have an immune system and like we're sleeping, right, then it has the chance to really like attack maybe like bacteria or stuff like that. But versus we don't sleep and then we're trying to do all these other things, then the immune system like scrambling and it can't really catch up and can't keep us from getting sick. Also, another thing is that it's actually been shown that people who get more sleep will actually get better grades in school too, versus someone that will stay up, let's say like most of the night studying more. They're actually not going to be able to really remember that, versus someone that studies for like a little bit and then will go to sleep. Because they have more sleep, they will actually remember the stuff better and then do better on the test. Here are also some just guidelines for how much sleep your child needs. For 6 to 10 years old, about like 10, 11 hours of sleep. I would say for like 10 and above, if you definitely get like 10 hours of sleep or 11, that's fine. You can also have like 9, but we really want to stay in that upper range. We don't want to go down to like 7 or 6, like stuff like that. That's really not good, because the average adult should really be getting around like 8-ish hours of sleep. So we want to make sure that as a kid, we have to really develop fully, especially our brains and just everything. We're growing. So we really need to develop fully, which is why we need more sleep. Here we also talk a little bit about the health benefits. So what they mean by live better is really that like you're gonna be able to enjoy life. Because have you ever guys like woken up, you're like, oh, I'm so sleepy, but then you have to wake up because it's time to go to school. Then the whole day you're just like, I'm just so sleepy, and you can't focus. You're just, I'm so sleepy. Like you just want to go to bed. But you can't do anything about it until that night, and then you go to bed. So the whole day, if you look back, you're like, wow, the whole day all I was thinking about was sleeping. I wasn't paying attention in class. I wasn't really like worrying about anything or like caring much about anything. And that's why it's like very important for us to have sleep, so we can pay attention in class and be ready again for the next day. It also can lower our stress, have sharper attention, improve our memory like we talked about, and have a healthy weight, because when our body catches up, everything can kind of catch up and we can do better. Now we're going to talk about junk food. This is a pretty big topic, especially now with it being so like available to everyone, and it was something I definitely want to go over. Okay, here's our poll here. Is junk food healthy? Okay, we'll give everyone a little bit longer to vote. Yeah, I think we can close the polls now. Yeah, so all you guys picking right mostly, so it's really not healthy. And we're going to go into that because I understand, like, again, a lot of people, like, you just hear them saying, oh, junk food's not healthy, make sure you exercise, be healthy, but no one really takes the time to explain it, which is really what I'm going to try to do and prove to you guys and show you guys why it's actually not healthy. So yeah, why is junk food bad? Well, a lot of the times junk food is going to have a lot of the stuff we said that you need to have a very small amount of, right? So the not healthy oils, which is going to be like, you think about French fries, they're deep fried in oil. That's no good, right? Also salt, French fries very salty. That's not really that good. The bread and starch. So you think about hamburger buns, they also have that bread and like starch, and it's not going to be a whole grain bun really. It's going to be more of that white bread that has a lot of sugar. And also like the patty. The patty is usually very large, so that's a very large amount of meat. Especially, let's say you're eating a hamburger every meal, that's probably going to be throwing your throwing your like vegetable, fruit, like meat, protein out of balance, and then you're gonna have problems there. Because also another part is you're like, oh well, on this hamburger, see, there's like these onions, there's these tomatoes, there's the lettuce. That actually looks pretty good. You know, it looks pretty healthy. But you compare it to eating a salad, there's like on that burger, there's barely any vegetable. There's not an avocado. There's not avocado. There's no spinach. There's not a lot of these other ones that have way more nutrients than just the simple ones that they have there. Also, another thing is just the frying. Everything is like so like deep fried, which has so much oil, and it has like the bread, which is yeah, just the bread is really bad. Also, pizza is pretty bad for us too, because we see that the cheese is the dairy, but there's a huge amount of cheese. Then there's also a lot of the meat, but the meats are very oily. The pepperonis, they have a lot of oil and like grease, right? And then we also have bread too, which is going to be that same kind of sweet, like white bread that's processed and not going to be good for us. And I thought it was a very interesting picture of this super, super tall, just hamburger like tower. Yeah, so once again, we look here. Also, another thing, right? We're talking about variation, and like the couple minutes ago, we're saying, oh, you need to have like different colors, right? We look at this picture, what do we see? We see the different colors of the soda. That's the only colors we really see. We just see that dark brown, we see the red, we see like the kind of like French fry colors, but there's not that much like bright colors. And that's really like almost nature's way of telling us, hey, this food doesn't really have that much nutrients for us. And again, this is like the sodas that we're talking about. You only need a little bit of, right? We don't want it to have that much sugar. And I'm going to show you, actually, it's a very, very shocking picture of soda and how much sugar it actually has. It's really crazy. So yeah. Here, this is what I was talking about, is like the grease is literally dripping off the pizza. It's kind of disgusting, but that's like really how much there is. And if you think about how much we're supposed to have each day, and if you eat like three slices of pizza and you have like a hamburger, that's already kind of throwing stuff out of whack and out of balance. We don't want that. This is the American Heart Association. This is their actual like emblem. And they always provide like medical advice on really how you keep your heart healthy, because they really want to raise like awareness about like heart attacks and like how we can prevent them through also like eating healthier. So I'm going to show you something that they kind of wrote on junk food. So here they talk about like unhealthy food, high processed, like I was saying, the like fast food and snack foods, right? Low in nutrients because there's not that much color, right? That's like nature's way of showing us that these have high nutrients if it has a lot of color. Also high on empty calories. Empty calories is just when a lot of times, let's say you eat like candy, right? Because that's also junk food. You eat a bunch of candy, like you won't necessarily feel as full as eating a bowl of salad. That's really what they mean by when they say these empty calories. They mean that they're not giving us nutrition. They're not giving us any like good vitamins. They're just making us feel, they're not even making us feel full really until we eat so much of it and they have so many calories and so much like sugar, and it's really just not a very good cycle as well. Here they talk about like saturated fat, which again is that bad type of fat really that's found a lot of times in the bacon. That's why there's so much grease and stuff, because there's a lot of like saturated fat in that, and that's when we eat that, that's really going inside of us. Sodium is just another word for salt. So we're talking about like the French fries, how they have a lot of salt. That they're really telling us don't eat that much salt. That's not good for you. Also, the added sugar. What they mean by added sugar, because technically fruit has sugar, but it's really different. Because fruit has sugar, but it's like a good type of sugar, right? Because it also has a lot of vitamins, and the amount of sugar is really not that much compared to eating like a candy bar that has a ton of sugar. And that sugar is not giving you any vitamins, not giving you anything good. So that's really why you gotta think, because people are like, oh, well, fruit has sugar, then it must be bad. No, fruit has like a very small amount of sugar versus a candy bar that has a lot. Also, fruit is giving you all those nutrients and really vitamins that you need versus candy bar is not. So we're gonna keep going here. And how to avoid unhealthy food. So we talked about what unhealthy food is. How do we avoid it though? Because we see at a store, we buy something, right? How do we know if that's unhealthy? We need to kind of choose it carefully, right? We need to look. If you look actually on the like product that you're buying, so let's say we're buying like a candy bar, there's this little section called the nutrition facts, and you can look about how much sodium, which means salt, right, that there is, and also how much sugar, and that will really give you an idea of should I be eating this or not. And so yeah, they're talking about reading food labels and preparing healthy snacks. So that'd be like having carrots to eat or an apple instead of having like chips. And also lean meat. So that's like a different part of the animal that will have actually less fat, and that'll be better for you. Okay, now we're going to talk about sugar. So as this little animation here shows, that yes, soda has a lot of sugar. Okay, this was a really cool picture I was going to show you guys. Here we're going to start off up here where we have like cereal boxes here that have, this is a sugar cube. So it's supposed to show how much sugar is in like a bowl of cereal. We look here, there's like no sugar, right? So this one would be the healthiest because it's having that whole grain, and it's not also giving you that much sugar either. Versus we look all the way up here, has like six like full cubes of sugar, which is like, I thought it's crazy just for the same amount really. And these are like the very, very sweet brands as well. So you need to kind of keep this in mind when you look at it and you think about it. Like, is something that's dark chocolate, like, sorry, not dark chocolate, that's chocolate and like really just like looks super sweet already, is that going to really be healthy for me? And you can double check it by looking at the label. Down here at the very bottom, we see we have this like KFC, or just, it's not really KFC, but just any drink in general of this size is gonna have like a lot of sugar. Like, we look at the sugar cubes, that makes the cereal look like nothing. Like, look at how much sugar there is, right? And then also on the right here, this is a water bottle, and you can see obviously it has no sugar. And we have like chocolate milk, I believe. Then we have some like juice. Then we have like concentrated juice where they add like a little more sugar. This is Red Bull up here. This is like iced tea. This will be like very, very sweet, because most tea like naturally is not like sweet at all. Sometimes even bitter. So kind of thinking about that, you have to add a lot of sugar to really make that very sweet. And that's why it has a lot of sugar as well. And this was the most amazing one. The soda cans here, look at how much sugar there is. It's like, I feel like you could pour all that sugar into the soda can, it would just fill it up. So it's like you're literally just drinking sugar. So here, here we have like how much really we should be eating on the right of sugar. The average like kid are eating 80 grams of sugar a day, which is not only unnecessary, it's also like unhealthy, because look at 16 grams. Do you really need to have like a Pop-Tart in the morning versus having, again, this fruit that has very little like sugar, and it has a lot of the vitamins too. here you might be thinking like, what's wrong with a peanut butter jelly sandwich? So we look at the bread. If you had like a whole wheat bread, that would be way better because it'd have less sugar. Also the jam, a lot of the time you just have to check, because if it's like organic jam, it will have like less sugar because it's made out of just fruits and no added sugar. However, they also have like jam and like the spread, the like raspberry spread or stuff like that, that they take through factories. They add a bunch of sugar, so it's like super sweet, and they add it. So then if you make like a peanut butter sandwich with those components, with the white bread that's very sweet and also the spread, then you're gonna have a very sweet very sweet like very sweet like peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And on the right here we see that this is only 5 grams for like the same sandwich, right? And this has like, oh, you can see lettuce, you can see like the tomatoes, and this one has 0 grams, right? This is like really amazing, the kind bar or just granola bars. And we look at the dinner too. The dinner, very simple, but you may be looking over here, you're like, why does that have 30 grams? Well, there's many different things, right? Because it depends. This one mostly for like the type of tomato sauce you use. Again, it's just like the jam. There's very organic tomato sauce out there that you can use. It'll be not very sweet and is very good for you. Versus there's some that they add so much salt or so much like sugar that it's like very unhealthy. On the left, we see that eating way too much sugar, like in your childhood and throughout life, can actually cause diabetes. It can also impair your learning, because if you think about it, if you've ever eaten a bunch of sugar at once, you feel really excited and like you start like kind of almost just doing like weird, crazy things because you feel like you have so much energy. And if you go to school with that and then you try to sit still in the classroom and pay attention, it's going to be really hard for you to learn, because you're going to always want to be getting up, doing something, because you have so much energy, and that's really bad. Also, eating a bunch of sugar, and this is kind of combined with not really brushing your teeth well, this will actually lead to like your tooth decay, because the sugar will like act on your teeth and kind of cause it to have cavities. Also heart disease and just a lot of different like bad diseases too. Because again, like we're saying, the main idea of balance is that you have a very balanced like basically everything, and then have very small amount of these like unhealthy parts, which is really our goal. So like let's think realistically here, right? I'm saying all this stuff like eat a salad, like eat your vegetables, but I hope after this seminar that you will do those things. But I know that it's really hard for people like to go from, let's say, eating a hamburger every day for lunch to having a salad instead that may not taste as well. I know like realistically in real life, it's hard for people to change, and it's hard for them to really go and do something new that sometimes doesn't taste that good to them, and they don't see the benefit immediately. However, if you do all 6 days eating healthy, I'm still proud of you. Like that's still an amazing job. And that way you can still maybe eat some unhealthy food for like 1 day. Now you might be thinking, but you said like eat like less unhealthy food, right? Yeah, but we look at it. You're eating 6 times as much healthy food than you are unhealthy food. And in the long run, like over months and months and years, that 1 day is not going to be that much, versus someone that tried to be healthy and couldn't do it because they just couldn't do it, because they felt like, oh my gosh, I need to have that hamburger, I need to have like this and that. But by having that kind of 1 day, you can kind of be like, oh yeah, I gotta have a cookie today, I gotta have like pizza. But then after that, like the next day, then you're like, okay, I can be healthy again, because you've already had the stuff that maybe you're like really craving, like, oh, I really want a donut. So then you wait until your kind of like cheat day, and you eat the donut and eat some other stuff. And this will allow you to, in the long run, after many years, still be eating mostly healthy. And here we're also talking about the power of habit. Like what is habit, and really why is it so important? And also why is it related to what we're doing? Like why does that even matter with healthy? So here we're gonna ask everyone a question like, why are habits important? And so A, they are hard to break. B, they become our routines. A and B, or they actually aren't important. Yeah, I'm really excited because the seminar is like, I know that it was very, for me, like to find, like really discover what is healthy for me and what does that mean. And I really want to share that with a lot of people after having like my own experiences as well. Okay, I think we can close the polling now. Yep, definitely. Great job, everyone. It is A and B. So habits, what does that mean? It's like a word, right? We don't know what it means. Okay, habits is like, let's say you wake up every morning and then you make your bed. You should do that every single day. Well, after a while, you wake up in the morning, you don't even have to think about it. You're just like, oh, gotta make my bed. And the next day, you don't even think, you're just like, oh, make my bed. So what happens is they become like routine. You do it and you just keep doing it and doing it, right? And if you try to break it, so let's say like one morning, you don't make your bed, but like you will see yourself reaching almost for the covers to make it. And you're like, wow, that's like very hard to break, right? So this is why they're actually very important. And it's easier to start a good habit and keep it going versus break an old one, because we just said with the bed example how hard they are to break, and try to make a new one. So I want you to make good habits, right? What does this mean with being healthy? And like, yeah, what does this mean with being healthy? Well, it means that, let's say like having a salad every day for lunch. If you start that off and then keep doing that, eventually that's a good habit, right? And you're gonna get used to it. And when you don't have a salad for lunch, you'll be like, yo, I need my salad, you know? I need my salad for lunch today. I really need that. And that's a good thing. Versus a bad habit is like, I'm gonna have French fries for breakfast, pizza for lunch, and a hamburger for dinner. And you get so used to that that when someone's like, I think maybe you want to try a salad, you know? You're like, no, I have to have my hamburger for dinner. That's really a bad cycle. And again, it's hard to break. So you keep going. And like we already talked about how bad the fast food can and the bad things it can do your body, which we don't want that to happen. So that's why it's so important that you make good habits from the beginning, because it's easier to start it. Because then afterwards, like we're saying with the salad, you just keep doing it just because you've already been doing it. Okay, this is the extra bonus. So it was actually today, I have like my own microscope at home, and I want to show you some very cool things that I saw in it. We took what we did is we did this kind of like experiment. If you guys don't have a microscope at home, that's fine. I'm just gonna explain it. So you take like a little bit of yogurt and then you put it on like the little glass piece and you put it underneath the microscope. And here is what we saw. So these are the different like zoom in. So you think of it like a camera, right? You have your camera and then you zoom in more, you zoom in some more, and you zoom in like a ton, right? It's just like that. We started off like here, and then we zoom in some more, and we zoom in even more, right? So this was actually, it's kind of hard to see, but these are because there's actually live like cultures, which is almost kind of like the good bacteria that is actually in yogurt. And so we can see them here, and here you can see them in really big detail. I'm actually going to show you guys a cool video because they actually move underneath the microscope. Okay, this one's going to be like a little bit shaky, but if you guys look, so let me start it and then I'm going to pause it. Yeah, so just look at if you can see my cursor, the bottom left of the screen, and then you'll be able to see in like the circle, you'll be actually able to see stuff moving. So everyone just take a quick look here. And you can actually see, I know it's kind of shaky, but you can actually see the slow, like little bacteria is like kind of moving this way at the very bottom. And yeah, it was kind of shaky because I was trying to hold it. But I just thought that was like really cool, because usually you look at under a microscope, you're like, oh, there's some cells, but they're not doing anything. So I thought that was really interesting. Another thing I did is I went to the beach like it was like a while ago, and there was just like a piece of like seaweed there, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'll see what it looks like under the microscope. So here's what we did, the same thing. Here I took a very, very tiny piece of seaweed, then we put it underneath the microscope here. Oh, so we can still see it. That right here, this is how wide that piece of seaweed was underneath the microscope. Then we zoom in and we see this, and we zoom in even more. and then we see these kind of like box-like structures, right? But you may be wondering, like, where are all the organelles? Why can't we see it, right? Well, the thing is, many different cells are actually different sizes. Some are super small, like kind of like the bacteria, right? Because we look back, those things are super tiny, right? Because they're kind of like the dots there, versus this like seaweed that has these huge boxes, right? And also like the organelles, so the nucleus or the mitochondria, sometimes they're not going to have that color. We look in the diagram, we're like, oh, it's a bright orange. In real life, they might just have no color, because why do they need color? And that's why it's very hard for us to see. So we sometimes use like dyes and stuff, and that will make it easier for us to look and really study. Okay, this is like the kind of fun homework I was going to give you guys here. So what I want you guys to do is take a picture of your healthy, balanced meal, and that has some food from like all the food groups, right? Because we want to have that balance. Then send it to this email, club.iexplore.info@gmail.com. By the end of day Thursday, like 8:13 in US, or Friday, 8:14, right? So when you send the photo though, please add like your name, age, and your city. And in the next seminar, I'm going to add some of your cool photos that you guys took. And we're also going to share them on like kind of like Instagram and Facebook, because I want to really see how you guys are eating healthy and like what great habits you guys are going to start. Yeah, so thank you guys. And now I think we can start with questions.
All right, awesome. So we got a bunch of questions actually. And our first question is, why can't we eat a lot of bread?
So why can't we eat a lot of bread?
Yes.
Yeah. So again, it's not really that like just bread in general. It's the specific types of bread. That really white bread does not have, like we said, a lot of the grains, and it's very low in like the nutrition, versus the whole wheat bread will have a lot more of like the wheat, right? And that will have more grains, and then oftentimes there's less sugar actually in that, and that will help you, because by eating it, you're getting more of your daily grains, versus when you eat the white bread, you're getting more of your like sugar, really. So yeah.
Great. Thank you for that answer. Our next question is, are you healthy if you are vegan or vegetarian?
Yeah, so that's a very good point, because like I'm gonna kind of remember what I was saying with the people that couldn't drink milk, right? They're gonna either take like kind of supplements, like so the vitamins, right? Or they'll eat like more of their veggies. So vegans and vegetarians are just as healthy as people that are actually like eating meat as well, right? Because they can still get their nutrition. And because we remember all the way back in the beginning, we said like nuts, tofu, stuff like that has protein, just like meat. So you can switch it out. You just need to make sure that you are eating enough nuts and like the tofu and those kind of plant proteins in order to really have that still balanced diet. Because the protein, like a lot of people think it has to be meat. It does not have to be. But sometimes in our like daily lifestyle, it might be easier. And we want to make sure we have our protein just overall too.
All right, thank you for that really thorough answer. Our next question is, how much water do 3 to 4-year-olds drink? Because one of our audience members has a little sister who is 3 years old, and she would like to know.
Yeah, so if I remember correctly, like we were saying that the youngest age group on that chart there was like 5 to 8, and they were saying like around 5 glasses. So once again, you can also ask your doctor too, because they're going to have that information, and you can do some more research too. But I would definitely say like less than 5 glasses, maybe more around like 3 or 4. Again, the glasses are also approximate. Like you go into your kitchen cabinet, you're not going to have the same glass as everyone else in the like world, right? So it's really just approximate. And it's really like if she or he, if like the person feels thirsty, then that means that they should drink some water. And that I think is probably one of the better indicators of like how much water you should drink. And then like after you drink that water, then you can kind of take a note like, oh, I usually drink this much and I feel okay. So then that's really how much I personally should drink.
All right, thank you so much for that advice. Our next question is it true that teens have different sleep patterns during puberty?
Yeah, so I think that really it really depends on the individual, right? Because I have not been like studying like teen sleep patterns specifically, but I do know that as a teenager, like a lot of times, especially going to high school, things can be kind of difficult with homework, and sometimes they'll shift it so they sleep like a little bit less. And for some people, they actually have like trouble sleeping, which is called insomnia, and they really have like trouble going to like sleep and actually falling asleep. And there's a lot of variation, really. It's not just like, oh, all teenagers like will change their sleep schedules. Some people will stay the same as they did maybe like sixth or fifth grade, they'll stay the same and they won't really change until maybe later. So again, is very different for each person because each of us are like unique, which is why you can't just say like for everyone like you must do this to be healthy. It's really these guidelines that like you should have around this much.
Yep, I can definitely testify to that. Right. So our next question is, why is diet soda unhealthy? Because it's diet, so why is it unhealthy?
Yeah, that's a great point because a lot of the sodas out there are actually like zero sugar or zero calories, right? But if you take a closer look, you look at the ingredients, right? This is one of the great things I think is that like all the companies have to be transparent, which means they have to show you what's actually in what you're drinking. You look at it, you see these like super complex chemical names, for all these weird like things that you don't really understand. What ends up happening is they put artificial sweeteners so they can say, well, oh, technically there's no sugar, but we just put these artificial sweeteners are very unhealthy. Like it's to the point that if you had artificial sweetener versus like sugar, the artificial sweetener is so much sweeter, and also like it honestly be healthier just to have sugar if you're at that point, because the artificial sweetener is just not good for you because it's like super condensed, right? Which can make it so sweet. And then most people are like looking at the label, they're like, but it says it has no sugar, so then I'm fine. You have to think like if it tastes sweet, there's something fishy going on here, and it says no sugar. So that's why you have to be careful with those diet sodas. And really those can often even be worse than sometimes the just normal sodas.
Yep, that's definitely true. Our next question is, why should we eat more vegetables than fruits?
So the thing with like vegetables and fruits, again, it's like the balance. But really, I wouldn't say that you have to eat more. I would say you should eat probably equal amounts. If you go like, let's say like, oh, I had an extra apple today and I didn't have an extra vegetable, like you're gonna be okay. Really, I just don't want people eating a ton of like fruits and no vegetables, or a ton of vegetables and no fruits, because both of them equally have a lot of really good vitamins. Like you look at like spinach and like the avocados, they have a lot of vitamins, or versus like the apples and pears and mangoes, those also have really good vitamins as well. So really being able to pull those two together in about equal amount, and then that will really help you the most.
All right, thank you for that answer. So our final question is, what do the different numbers on the SPF index mean?
So what people do like for the sunscreen, they really they really test it, and that's really a measure of how effective it is actually going to end up being. Because remember, SPF stands for sun protection formula, and so sun protection formula means like, oh, it protects us from the sun, but we have to measure how much does it protect us from the sun. So I'm not sure like exactly how they actually do that because it seems kind of complicated, but they are going to use this some way to test to say, oh, maybe they put it on like something and they'll say like, oh, did this piece of skin like get cancer, or did it get like sunburn very easily compared to the one that has a different type or maybe higher. So then based off of that, they do a lot of really like just tests, right? Because let's say you have like this new ball that they want to make. Well, they're going to like hit the ball, they're going to bounce it, they're going to really see how durable it is. Same thing with the kind of like the sunscreen, right? They're going to put it on, they're going to see like, does this actually protect me? They're going to do a lot of like the hands-on test. And after that, then I would assume they have their own chart, and they kind of measure like the certain like abilities. So let's say person didn't get sunburn in like 20 minutes of sun, or person did get sunburn. So based off of that, they're going to choose a kind of like SPF level that best fits that specific sunscreen, which is why you can have some that have these really huge numbers, but for them, sometimes they have like the mineral, which is really effective at blocking the rays, or they have like some other formula as well.
All right, thank you for that. And there's actually one more question that just came in. I heard that potatoes are not as healthy as other vegetables. Is that true?
Yeah, so we look at like, again, like the kind of bright colors, right? In fact, the perfect thing is in the center of the screen here we have a potato. But the potatoes are kind of like duller, right? Than let's say this bell pepper or this tomato. And again, like we were saying, that's kind of nature's way of showing us like this one may not have as much fruit, or sorry, as much vitamins or minerals as these other ones do. So it is still healthy to eat it, which is it's still fine to eat it. It's still okay. But if let's say you're going to eat a salad versus having a bunch of mashed potatoes, the salad would be better. Not only because like it actually is providing you more of different kinds of vegetables and fruits sometimes versus mashed potatoes is just one type. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. And big thank you to everyone who just asked or answered a question in the comments below. And so thank you guys for participating in our seminar. And big thank you to Ryan here for providing that awesome seminar. You really covered a lot of info in that short amount of time.
Yeah,
And
once again, I just want to say like make sure you guys send it to this email here, and I really am looking forward to see like what kind of foods you guys are eating and how great you guys are going to start off eating healthy.
yep, so make sure to turn in your homework because we're going to actually present it for the next seminar, and that will be pretty cool. So I just typed the email address in the chat below one more time. So if you guys have to log that down, make sure to just copy that and save it. And so yeah, so big thank you to all of you, and big thank you to Ryan. And I just hope that everyone, single one of you, will have a wonderful day. And I hope that you guys will be eating healthy and just staying active and healthy. So yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye guys, have a good day.